Last week I did a report on a military officer named of Anthony Aguilar. I don't know if he was an officer or if he's like a sergeant in the Green Berets, I believe, but he went over to Gaza to, I don't know, help or observe what was going on with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. And he came back, he quit. And then he came back, and first thing he did was talk to the BBC as a whistleblower to say that it is an absolute clusterfuck over there, and it's, the light side is its absolute incompetence, and on the worst side, it is intentionally starving and killing Gazans. So anyway, he's on MSNBC, and they're asking him why he did it. So let's see what he's got to say.
Tell me a little bit about how you made the decision to do it, because I'm sure this was not an easy decision to make.
I mean, it was not an easy decision. There's the feelings of loyalty. There's feelings of, being a rat or a snitch, as I've been called.
By the way, this guy, he's not a Democrat. This guy is, I think he says he's an independent, but he is absolutely nobody's Democrat. So, before you start thinking that this guy is a Democratic operative that went over there to come back and to tell everybody, how bad it is. No, this guy is not a Democrat. He doesn't vote Democrat.
And, in just searching my soul, I realized that very few Americans, very few Westerners have been in Gaza at all for the duration of time that I spent there. And very few, even beyond that, much fewer have spent time on these actual sites and have seen this actual operation and have seen it through the lens of my experience of 25 years in the military, but seeing things around the world. And I felt that, one, I had to go on the record to give this a voice, to stay anonymous, to stay behind a keyboard and just talk to the media in the shadows is not responsible. So I knew that stepping up that I was going to get discredited, smeared, and I'm here for it.
I got to give the guy credit for that. He probably has been taking a lot of shit from his military brethren for doing this. He has to, and what I was saying earlier on in the show, I was talking about how, Donald Trump is going to be asking the military to start invading America and putting military boots on American soil. And I said, if you are in the military and you're being asked to police American citizens, this is the time for you to quit. And this guy did it. This guy actually did it. And, he's going to get a lot of backlash for it. But at the same time, he's doing it for the right reason.
On the record, I'm not hiding, and I won't hide. I'm not speaking because this is my story. I'm speaking because this is the story of a population of human beings that if we don't do something now, we are on a dangerous road, and a day of reckoning is coming that as a world, we're going to see it, and we have no excuse. We have no excuse when everything comes to bear and this box is opened and we see inside. We have no excuse as a nation. We have no excuse as a world to look at this and say we didn't know. We do know.
And what we know is that the count of the dead Gazans that is at the moment around 60,000 is a vast undercount. I believe that is the number comes from the Palestinian Authority of 60,000 dead Gazans. But at the same time, their ability to do any counting was cut like a year ago. So the numbers that they have been stagnant, yet the killing has continued. And right now with the Gaza humanitarian force, they are killing anywhere between 50 and 100 people every single day by bottlenecking them down in the southern tip of Gaza to get food because they are starving to death. And then they go ahead and shoot stragglers And anybody that gets out of line, and I did a report on where a doctor was like, everybody that was coming in on a Tuesday gets shot in the chest, and everybody that comes in on bodies that get brought in on a Wednesday are shot in the head, and everybody that comes in on Thursday was shot in the testicles. They're like making a little game out of it, these IDF snipers. And by the way, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is supposed to take the place of the UN and UNRWA, who was actually providing food services to the Gazans during this conflict. They're all gone. This GHF, this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, is basically just an op for IDF and CIA mercs. That's what this is. It's just an intelligence op and a mercenary op to kill Gazans. They want to cull the herd. Benjamin Netanyahu used to say years and years ago that they need to put Gazans on a diet. Honey, I think they're starving at this point. Diet is well beyond what they are now.
And I'm not looking for anyone's approval. I'm not looking for the approval of paid spokespersons from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation or a paid contract lawyer who wants to talk about, I don't know how to, I don't know what I'm seeing on a certain site when I've been there. So I'm here for consciousness and for doing what's right and American values. America needs to know what we are doing in Gaza, what we are complicit in, and America's voice needs to stand up and put an end to it.
I mean, look, they have been doing the Bibi Netanyahu, the Likud party, and the IDF have been doing everything that they can to dehumanize this population. Make it so the world thinks that these people are less than human, subhuman. We need to starve them. I mean, Smotrich said that they are human animals, and I'm not letting any food, water, or electricity in. They need to be starved out. The more and more you dehumanize them, the easier it is to kill a population. If they're no longer human, then it's easier for you to kill. I mean, Bibi Netanyahu was doing, he says something about, something in the Bible that we need to, take out their families, their wives, their children, their suckling pigs, all of those things, because they are less than human. And this guy goes over there and he sees a whole bunch of human beings getting starved and shot, and he's aghast. I mean, this guy was in Iraq. He's been a veteran for 25 years. He's seen some dastardly shit. And he says that everything else pales in comparison to what he's seeing in Gaza.
Because a day of reckoning is coming, and right now we are on the wrong side of history.
Lieutenant Colonel, do you believe that you witnessed war crimes, not just the fog of war, as the IDF has said that this is not a policy? Where did these orders come from? Is it a systemic policy? And how does it compare to when you served in Iraq and Afghanistan?
Complicated and complex environments require strong leadership and require strong morals. It's very easy in a situation like this, where the population has been dehumanized, to see them running and scrounging for food, and to see them as, it's very easy to go down that path of dehumanization and then just looking the other way. War, the fog and friction of war is real. However, the azimuth, the line that keeps us straight through that fog and friction is our morals and our ethics, humanitarian laws that we all abide by. These aren't questionable. These aren't things that have flexibility.
It's one of the things I always say all the time, is that we know the difference between right and wrong. Deep down in our core, we all know what's right and what's wrong. You know when you're doing something wrong. You just do everything you can to convince yourself that it wasn't wrong. But you know it. You know it. Deep down in your core, you fucking know it. And we all know this is wrong, but there is a contingent of our population that is choosing to ignore it. And unfortunately for those people, the rest of the world sees this for what it is. It is a genocide. It's an ethnic cleansing. They're doing everything they can to dehumanize and depopulate this area so Donald Trump can turn this into, Gaza Trump resort town, and they can have themselves an ethnic Jewish state.
These are our guideposts. The Israeli Defense Forces have been put in a very precarious situation in the south because the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation put all 3 of the sites, the southern sites, in the middle of combat zones. Each of the distribution sites in the
That right there is by design. That is literally by design. They want them in the combat zones. They want to have an excuse to shoot these people. That's the reason why they're doing it. It is. It's not the bug, it's the feature.
south are right in the middle of ongoing combat operations. It puts the IDF in a very bad position tactically and operationally, and it puts them in a dilemma to where they're in their area of trying to combat Hamas, which is their mission. They're also having to pretend with 8 to 9 to 15,000 hungry civilians in
I mean, the reason why they're doing it is because they are trying to resettle the northern part of Gaza. It's a wasteland up there. They have said to Gazans, the only food you're going to get is down south, so everybody is going down south to get food because they're all starving to death. And by the way, reports have already come out that Bibi Netanyahu has hired a group of ISIS gangs to literally steal the food that people actually get from these distribution sites. And then he can turn around and say, see, it's Hamas who is stealing the food. It's like, dude, you are hiring these ISIS gangs. You were literally working with ISIS to steal food so you can blame Hamas for it.
any given day. And when there's not strong leadership and there isn't a strong purpose, then this type of situation where we see the war bear on people, where the dehumanization becomes almost organic, that this is what that becomes. And you know, up in northern Gaza, they've been isolated for even longer. No one can go in and out of the Netzarim corridor north in the Gaza city and Jabalia. And when aid starts going in there, when the world has had enough and we start to go in to northern Gaza, we're going to see things that are going to bring the world to their knees.
Yeah, seriously. The Lancet is a medical journal. They estimate that the low number is 180 some thousand dead people. And that was months ago, 180,000 people dead in Gaza. That's the minimum number, the minimum. We're probably looking at 3, 4, maybe even 500,000 dead Gazans from the bombs, the shooting, and the starvation. We're going to have to reckon with that. I mean, I'm sure that there will be a large number of people that are just put it out of their mind. They're not human. They're way over there. We're here. We don't really care. You know, I did a story last week about at least 10 American citizens who have gone over to the West Bank to help defend their family's land and area have already been killed. Those are American citizens that have been killed in the West Bank by settlers. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's doing anything about it. American citizens getting killed, nobody cares.
Mark my words. We are going to see human suffering like the world has not seen in a long time. And it's going to bring us to our knees. And we have an opportunity right now to stop this and to do the right thing. And if we don't, we are complicit in that. And the world is going to see it. And that day is coming.
Yeah, we are literally funding the fascism right now. We are funding the modern day Adolf Hitler. I mean, the irony abounds that the Jewish people who were, you know, victims of a Holocaust are now being led by a madman who is literally doing the same thing to Gazans. And a lot of the Israelis that live there have been propagandized to so hard that the majority of them think that what Bibi Netanyahu is doing is okay. It's only the rest of the world that sees it.
Anthony, when you talk about doing the right thing, what do you mean? What do you recommend? And what advice would you give to other Americans who might be considering doing what you did, going over there as a contractor to provide aid?
By the way, just keep this in mind. That guy right there, this Anthony Aguilar, he's a contractor. I don't want to call him a mercenary, But I mean, he is a contractor using his military experience and getting paid handsomely to go over and do it. He just is one of the few people that were like, I don't care how much money they're paying me. This is fucked up. I'm leaving. But there are a lot of people who aren't leaving. And they're okay with this because they're getting paid for it.
I believed in the mission when we first set foot in Gaza, and I soon learned that this type of operation to this magnitude, providing humanitarian assistance at scale, this is not a weekend job. This is not a, something.
Yeah, he's not kidding about that. They say it's anywhere between 500 to 700 truckloads of food need to come into Gaza every day to feed those people. I heard somebody touting, I think it was Mike Huckabee, said, well, we're making available 1 million meals per day. Well, if you consider that there are 2 million people, probably less at this point, let's just say 1.8 million Gazans that are left alive. So you're providing, what, a half a meal for everybody every day? That's not going to cut it, man. What is the meal? Is it just a bowl of rice? A bowl of lentils? For them to have to share the one meal with somebody else? That's not enough, man. It's not enough. The only way this is going to get solved is if they open the gates and they let the food in. There are thousands of trucks waiting outside to get into Gaza to feed. Cindy McCain was like, they won't let us in. Cindy McCain works for a foundation that brings food to hungry people. And she says they will not let us in. And that's a white lady. They won't let her in.
You can throw together and wing it. We have an organization that the United States has sponsored and been supportive of for 80 years.
Yeah, it's UNRWA and the UN. And we managed to propagandize UNRWA. It's filled with Hamas. And there was no such thing. It was absolute bullshit. It reminds me of that first hospital that they blew up. And they said it was a Islamic terrorist bomb. And they went on the defensive and said, oh, we had nothing to do with that. Meanwhile, they said that they were going to do an investigation. They never, published the investigation of what happened. And meanwhile, they have bombed every other hospital. There's like 30 hospitals in Gaza, and every last one of them has been blown up or attacked by the IDF. Every last one of them. And I haven't heard an excuse or hide nor hair from the Likud party or Netanyahu about any excuses for any of those. So, to say that UNRWA was filled with Hamas and then provide absolutely no proof of it, and that was a year and a half ago. That's how you get food in, man. We had a mechanism to bring food in. The intent is to starve those people. They want to cull them down to a small enough population so they can use our tax dollars to bribe Jordan and Syria and some other countries to take these Palestinians as refugees and get them all out of Gaza. I mean, they've effectively already taken over the West Bank. They bombed Syria. They bombed Lebanon. They bombed Iran. They want a greater Israel. I mean, that's the program that Netanyahu is doing. He wants a greater Israel. And they want to reoccupy Gaza. Got an article here in the Washington Post, what to know as Israel considers reoccupying Gaza and what would be a major escalation of the war. Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu is considering ordering a full reoccupation of the Gaza Strip, according to Israel media. Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu is considering ordering the full reoccupation of the Gaza Strip, according to Israeli media, a move that would draw fierce opposition internationally and within Israel. It would mark a stunning escalation to a nearly 22-month-long war. I hate calling it a war. It's a genocide, but okay. In the territory that has already been largely destroyed, where experts say famine is unfolding. Oh, it's not unfolding, honey. It's there. It would put the lives of countless Palestinians and about 20 living hostages at risk. Meanwhile, look, I've said this before too. Hamas has not only The only time that hostages were released in mass was at the very beginning. And it was right after the tragedy of October 7th. And they made a deal. It's like, we will release hostages for all of the Palestinian prisoners that you've locked up. And we'll do we'll do a swap. And that happened. And they released quite a few of the hostages. And then the next deal was, if you promise not to reoccupy us, we will give back all the rest of the hostages. And Israel said, we're not making that promise because we want to reoccupy Gaza. And over again, the Hamas would try to make deals, and then Bibi Netanyahu would kill the guy who was trying to make the deal maker in Hamas. The political leader of Hamas that wasn't part of the war machine, but was actually there to negotiate. Netanyahu had him killed. And then Hamas, leaders said, okay, here's the deal. We will give up the hostages. We will drop our weapons and we will leave. And Israel's like, nah, man, we don't want that. The deal was, we will do all of those things and leave if you promise not to reoccupy. They're like, nope, we're reoccupying. I don't care what you do. And besides, we like you there because you are the boogeyman. And as long as we have a boogeyman, we can drop bombs and kill as many of you as we want to because, we can. And Mark is studying escalation to the 22-month war in the territory that has already been largely destroyed, and where experts say famine is unfolding, it would put the lives of countless Palestinians and about 20 living hostages at risk and deepen Israel's already stark international isolation. It would also face fierce opposition within Israel. Families of the hostages was considered. Honestly, honey, Bibi Netanyahu gave up on those hostages. That was like a write-off. They're like, hey, we will use the lives of the hostages as an excuse to do our bombing campaign. By the way, if they're living in anywhere in Gaza, who's to say that those remaining 20 hostages are even alive, honey? Seriously. Have you seen the wasteland that is Palestine? That is Gaza at this point? Because it is just a crumbled pile of rubble. If they're still alive, it's a fucking miracle. Would have considered it a virtual death sentence, and much of the security established is also reportedly opposed to an open-ended occupation that would bog down and further strain the army after nearly 2 years of regional war. I don't know how IDF soldiers are actually doing any of this shit. They must have dehumanized the Gazans to a point where they don't even see them as human beings anymore for them to be able to do it. And after 22 months of this, I'm sure that at least some of them are like, I don't even want to be in the IDF anymore. This is bullshit. The threat that to reoccupy Gaza would be a negotiation tactic aimed at pressuring Hamas after talks mediated by the United States, Egypt, and Qatar appear to have broken down last month. Yeah, because Israel keeps walking away from the negotiating table. It's not Hamas that's walking away, it's Israel. Or it could be aimed at shoring up support from Netanyahu's far-right coalition partners in the Likud party. His governing allies have long called for the escalating war. The Likud party, they want more of this. They're even more bloodthirsty than Bibi Netanyahu is. He's like, hey, look, I've got to make appearances that I'm trying to feed these people, or else everybody's going to invade us. Countries across the world, Canada, Australia, France, Germany, they're all saying we need to recognize the Palestinian state. And, it's starting to look more and more like a genocide to everybody. Everybody's screaming about it. And world leaders are going, okay, well, we have to respond to our people. And it is looking like a genocide. So the Likud party, they don't care, man. They're like the fucking honey badger. They don't give a fuck. They want them all dead. His governing allies, escalating war, taking over Gaza, relocating much of its population through what they refer to as voluntary immigration and reestablishing Jewish settlements. I love that voluntary immigration. Either you stay here, starve, or get bombed or shot, or you get up and leave. It's voluntary. You make a choice. Jewish settlements that were dismantled when Israel withdrew in 2005. Whether they prevail will likely depend on the one person with leverage over Israel, and that's Donald Trump. And Donald Trump ain't doing jack shit. Asked Tuesday whether he thought Israel should reoccupy Gaza, he said that he wasn't aware of the suggestion, but that it's going to be pretty much up to Israel. So that's carte blanche. They're going to do what they want. By the way, I wanted to show you this, a little video here. ITV News, they're not allowed, nobody's allowed to go into Gaza. Nobody. But they tagged along on a airdrop of food, and they're like 15,000 feet above Gaza. That is as close as they can get to Gaza, is flying 15,000 feet above it and dropping food. I mean, it's nowhere near enough food, and the food that falls might kill somebody, but whatever. You know, it has happened. People have died for having food and medical supplies dropped on their fucking heads because they're starving and they're out there just waiting for manna to fall from the fucking sky. Anyway, I just wanted you to see this because it is disturbing.
Building by building, Gaza is being erased.
I mean, look at that shit. Look at that.
Cities like broken skeletons laid waste by war. Graveyards of life and lives. The streets, homes and coffee houses of old now cast to the ground.
It's
The
rubble.
soul of this place, along with the souls who lived here, brought to ruin in the rubble and dust.
That little bit of food there.
Israel bans foreign journalists from entering Gaza. 15,000 feet above is the closest we get to seeing for ourselves the consequences of the war it is waging here. When we joined an airdrop last week, we were told Israel didn't want images from above being filmed or shown. Aid being dropped from this flight is to those who are trying to survive in this hell. This was Gaza before the bombs started falling, a place of life where normal lives were lived. There is no sign of that normality now. This is the new normality for the Mohra family and others. Both Odeh and Mohammed have acute malnutrition on top of a neurological disorder.
I guess Fox News would say that they all had, they all had a medical condition, and they look like that because of the medical condition, not because they're starving to death. I mean, at least that's what the New York Post had to say.
They need specialist milk and medicine. Without it, their lives are fading away.
This child, Uday, is 4 years old and he weighs just over 4 kilos. Mohammed is 3 and he's 5 kilograms. I call on the world to help my children get treated, or at least get them milk and nappies.
This is one of the explosions which destroyed Gaza, targeting the Turkish-Palestine Friendship Hospital.
That was a hospital, y'all. Yeah, man. Hamas was hiding in there, right?
The only specialist cancer hospital in Gaza. This is what's left of it now. This was the Al Wafa Old People's Home. We can't say what's become of its residents. This was a primary and secondary school. We can't say what became of the pupils. Many of the other ruins were homes. We can't say whether those that lived here survived or are among the
just rubble.
60,000 now dead. Under international law, it is a war crime to target schools, hospitals, and other civilian sites. Those trying to help Palestinians in Gaza survive are now struggling themselves.
When we manage to deliver aid to a specific area, we are met with the eyes of those around us, people looking at us, as if it to say, when will it be our turn? Everyone is hungry, everyone is in need, everyone feels like their life depends on this.
This landscape of destruction looks otherworldly, yet it's not. It is this world, and what is happening may yet come to define one of its darkest eras. One that casts a stain on humanity, which will endure for generations.
It's real disturbing stuff, isn't it? It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I don't know anything else we can say about it. We're watching probably the worst thing in my lifetime. And, I lived through the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War. And I saw the wretchedness and the horrible shit that happened. Due to us. But I've never seen anything this bad. Ever. This is the worst. It's the worst thing that could happen. Genocide is the worst thing that can happen. and we're watching it in 4K, and we're using our tax dollars to fund it. And the only person that can stop it is basically saying, hey, it's up to Israel what they want to do. It's cool with me. Well, if you can watch that and you're cool with that, I don't know what it says about you, but I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Because if you don't know what right from wrong is, there's nothing I can say that's going to change your mind. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.